Okay. I don't know how else to get closure from this. June, um, around June of 2022, I went out on a date with a guy named Alan Waldron, Kenneth Allen Waldron. Stupidly, I let him pick me up. He refused to take me home that night. And every time I went to my apartment, except for a couple of times, he was always following me there. Um, Things got really, really bad. Um, and I'll show you an example of that in a minute. Ladies, gentlemen, I don't care who you are, anybody can be bad to the opposite sex. Just always, never, ever give your address to anybody. Never get picked up by them. Always, 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 please promise me. Guys, girls, doesn't matter what. In public. And nowadays, your first date or first few dates should be with a friend. I went looking like the picture that you see on my profile to this, but this is me getting healthier. But what happened was I tried, he was an extreme alcoholic. There's other stuff I'll tell you at the end. I tried to escape the first month and it didn't work. He's a retired military. He's on disability, obviously. $4,000 a month to drink 30 beers a day and be abusive. He stole my car at one point. He was accusing me of cheating. He was. It, Listen, I've been trying to get counseling for this, and there's not a counselor that doesn't have a waiting list. He was forcing me to have relations with him. He was verbally, mentally, and physically abusive to me. And every time I would try to leave, he wouldn't let me. So I needed a plan. Okay. I did try to get help from the police, and basically they were like, okay, well, you need to make an appointment. What are the chances that, why do I need to make an appointment for an emergency situation? Okay, they were of no help at all, including when I left and I tried to get a restraining order. I was told that I could not prosecute him for relations because I might have at one point said yes. Even though I had proof like this, and I will show you. This is one of the last things he left me, and I'm going to share how I got away, and I'm going to share the people who helped me. I'm not going to share their names, but I'm just going to tell you how. Look at this. This is him. If you see him on, he's not supposed to be on Plenty of Fish anymore. It took me a year to get up the courage, but I sent them a note and all his email addresses, phone numbers that I had, and they told me they were going to block him, and they gave me the information to Rain and stuff like that. Um, as you can see, I just took a shower, and if you suck my dick, I'll come to bed. I guess not. It was like it was like 4:20 a.m. He would keep me up all night long. I guess not. You don't really like blah, blah. You can read it for yourself. I just can't. Anyway, this was probably a few weeks before I left. I got on to, I would try to work and he would come in and he would accuse me of trying to cheat. My clients, I'm a pastoral counselor, they stopped calling me. They said, "We're not going to contact you again until you get away from him." Okay. And they were right. They deserve privacy. Um, he stole money from me. He ran up a huge electric bill. I gave him, like, he always had everything. He told me, "You got to get the electric in your name because I haven't had it here and they might charge me a huge deposit and then I'll pay it." Well, when he found out that I left, in the process of it getting shut off, um, he had had his bank account on the account so they could take it out automatically. They took it out and he fought it with the bank. So I owe $300 and growing to the electric company. This man is from West Virginia. Um, Everything he said was a lie. Okay. He told me basically that his ex wife was abusive towards him, that they finally got a restraining order on her. I'll tell you how I found out the truth. But he distracted me so much, kept me so exhausted, and kept screaming and hollering at me. He stole my phone. He did unspeakable things to me. He signed me up. He told me I had to, "You don't tell this man no." And he said, "You're not good at whatever," because he would take one of those pills and then he would tell me to take care of him for the entire, okay? You don't say no to somebody like that. And so it took me like a few months to be able to get like 10 minutes to even talk to the there's a chat line. It just, if you Google abuse chat line, and they just told me, um, act normal. And they have an escape button basically on the browser. And they said, just act normal until he leaves one day and leave. Don't even, you can't pack because you're going to give him a notice. And he's already not let you leave before. Now, this was, and then I did try to leave a couple times. One time I went down to my dad's, and I don't really involve my dad in stuff like that because I don't want my dad to be stressed out. But I just started crying randomly, and my father was like, "What's wrong?" And I couldn't hold it in anymore. It had been almost a year at that point of stuff, and my dad, like, while I was there, um, Alan basically called me and he was screaming at me. So I put him on speakerphone and he said I was going to cheat on him or something. And I'm like, "Look, here's my dad. Dad, tell him that I'm at your, yeah, she's been at my house." So my dad started to go back up there with me. And because I basically told him at that point, "I'm leaving you, we're through." I had my dad's back up. But then he called my dad and he convinced my dad that he knew he had a problem. He was crying. He was very convincing to let us work it out. And so my dad turned around and went home thinking, "Okay, he sounds remorseful." But my dad didn't know the full entire story at that time. And so basically, I'm sorry about that. So basically, when I was with him, I went back up there that night, and "Oh, I'm going to go back into Cat 5, which is an alcoholic program. You'll have to watch the cat and take care, I'll give you money to take care of the bills because I'll be gone probably for 3 months." He was crying, crocodile tears, and I fell for it. And he also told me the reason he was the way he was because he was an Army Ranger and he had to kill people and he had to kill a little 3-year-old, which I verified he was an Army Ranger. But when I spoke to a friend who counsels people in the military, and I spoke to the actual military counselor, they said, "I'm going to tell you something. His problems did not start with us. His problems were before us." Okay. We may, it's true, we may program them and we may mess them up and we don't fix them when they get back. That's true. But we never encourage them or turn them into or accept them abusing people. So he wanted to go to counseling, and I got to the point where I just didn't tell him no. And we went to our first appointment. The counselor gave us a book to read. I offered to read it with him. He gave each of us a copy. I had read half the book and he hadn't even picked it up. He said, he told me, I am not going to Cat 5 and I don't give what the counselor says. Okay. He would tell me all along, get in there, cook me dinner. He would then tell me it was terrible dinner. He would I have to keep telling myself I'm not with him. I'm not with him. I am a long ways away from him now and I have protection now. So I want to let this out because I've lived in fear for so long. Um, but he would do stuff like pull his pants down and stick it in my face and make me. I get to. YouTube is probably going to take this down. I hope they don't. They're probably going to take it down because his picture's on there. But you don't know where he's from. I mean, you just know it happened in West Virginia. I don't even know where he's at now, which freaks me out because I had him on my block list and he's not there anymore. So he's not on my block list, on my Facebook, or anything. But let me just pull this down. I mean, I hope they don't. I'm telling you, YouTube, eh, please don't ban me or my channel because I'm telling my story. Just tell me to take it down and redo it, and I'll redo it. Anyway, so I messed up. Okay. When I was with him, I stopped showering, I stopped eating. Um, for a long time, I was completely high all the time on weed so I could deal with it. Um, that's another thing he tried to make me do when he thought I was defending myself. He tried to force me to take and it like in the very end I knew I had to stay with it. But anyway, one night I told him I wasn't he was crashed. I told him I wasn't feeling well and I did tell him he was just drunk at the time I told him this and then he crashed out. I was going to go to the hospital cuz I wasn't feeling well. So I went real early in the morning when he finally crashed and I told them what was going on. The hospital guys, I don't know if yours does, but my hospital has secret organizations that, like, even if he called the number, until you verify for real who you are, they will not tell you anything. And they gave me that number, and basically, they cover something else. She told me about resources and things, and you know, as I was getting ready to leave and she was giving me this information, I get a fucking phone call and a text that said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm at the hospital. I'm not feeling well." And I literally started freaking out to these girls. These girls knew I was telling the truth. They said, "Do you want us to get security?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know what to do here." Um, I really felt it. I just kept saying, "I gotta go. I gotta go." I was so scared. And finally, I convinced him, "Hey, I'm on my way home." And he I guess he was having his friend bring him over, his next door neighbor, which enabled his drinking. And he turned around and he went home. And I went home and he swore I never told him. I mean, obviously you're not going to remember if you're trashed. So those girls, they told me before I left that you continue to show up here, and when you feel like strong enough that you need protection, we'll protect you. Um I I basically was afraid because he doesn't care about police. He doesn't care about hospitals. He doesn't care about authority figures at all. He would just fucking go on a rampage, and I didn't want people to get hurt. He always say, "I know how to kill people with my finger." I know I was trained. I'm a trained killer. And then he would talk about this person where he used to live who stole all his stuff, and he's going to go down there and he's going to hurt the person, and he don't care. You know, he talked about guns and weapons and knives. One time he had the friend's gun, and I convinced him to give it back. I don't know how I did that, but I started sending proof on Facebook to my friend as I could and telling them to keep it for me, because that way if he got into my stuff, which he did, put a tracker on my phone and everything, that he wasn't going to be able to delete evidence. Um December 26th, 2022, he did something odd. I had woke up and there was a note on the pillow. This is a man who's a hypochondriac. He woke me up for everything. And suddenly he was telling me he wasn't feeling well. He was going to the VA center. I know he didn't go to the VA center. I called them. I was on his emergency list because I had a feeling and they didn't. And then I said, I wonder. He had a second phone. And I got in there and there was this girl's number. And he had been contacting her all week long. And this is the type of thing, throughout the year, he would say stuff to his friend that was a girl that was a best friend, like, "You do everybody in town. You're such a whore. Why did you never do me?" Like, "You owe me this, you owe me that." Um, Basically, I don't think she's his best friend. I think she was just using him because she could get free stuff from him, like, go out to dinner, go to concerts and stuff like that. So, um, December 26th, when I called this girl, um, I said to her, because I just had a sneaking suspicion. I said, "Hey, this is Alan's fiance. I see her in his phone. I mean, is he over there? Because he's missing and I can't find him. I'm worried about him." She immediately hung up on me. Um, I packed all the stuff I could and my cats. Obviously, it was around 4 in the morning, when I left. I got down to my dad's. I had to bang on the window because I couldn't get a hold of him because his phone was off, but he knew that I was gonna plan an escape, and, I left, but I did leave him a note that said, "I'm gone. I'm not coming back to this abuse, and enjoy so and so's name," or whatever. Um, "If you try to contact me, I'm gonna get a restraining order on you and have you put in jail. I've got enough evidence." Period. It's funny because I had shown him the text that he sent me. He he would always ask me to prove it. I realized after a while proving anything to him was he was just going to deny it. So, um, when I got to my dad's, I made sure he was blocked on email. Somehow he got my new phone number. He left me a message that said, "If you don't call me by 6 a.m., I'm going to destroy your phone." Um, I don't know how he did it, but it stopped working. I had to go get a new phone with no job. He One day I was reading my emails thinking that when you block an email, it actually will bounce back to them, but it doesn't. They just put it in your spam folder. One day, an email from him popped through, and it was linked to other, in total, I think there were 50. He would go from, "Baby, come back. I miss you. I love you. I'll get help," to literally 2 minutes later, "You're a fucking whore. You're a piece of trash. Nobody's going to want you for anything but your twat." Um, all that. Okay. So I thought I could reason with him. I did call him up from a number, like a text now number, and I said, "Look," I said, "please just leave me alone. We're not compatible. I don't really want to come back. I don't want to be in that type of situation. Find a woman who wants to be your slave, I don't." And so uh, that conversation went weird because he kind of acted sorry, but yet not. And he said, "Why don't you give me your real number? I know this is not your real number. I know your real number, and the last four digits of it are blah, 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 blah." And I thought for a minute, and I said, "Well, I'm not giving you my real number. If you know my real number, then why don't you contact me on it?" Okay, well, then I got another new number, and he found that. And let's just say my dad said the words to me, "I have a 44 and it's loaded." My dad's military too. "I have a 44 and it's loaded." I said, "Dad, why do you have a 44 loaded? Are you okay?" He says, "No, because if he shows up here, I'm going to kill him." Okay, my dad's not like that. But I guess, my dad believed me. And at the time, I had been isolated from everyone. He took everyone, girls and guys, away from me. He was contacting my girlfriends, some of them. He was contacting my guy friends. He contacted my cousin. Um, they never gave him any information, like, during the relationship. He continued, he made up a name, and after I had left him and he knew it was over, and contacted Tim, because one of our conversation, he said, "I know that you just went down there so you could F your ex-husband and Tim. Um, Tim is just my friend. I hadn't seen him in like 2 years. And we rarely spoke because he's a fireman. Anyways, um, he contacted him, and he went off, and he goes, he contacted him on a random name, not his own name. And he says, get away from my woman, stay away from my woman, or I know your address. I will come over there, and basically he fuck you up." And so Tim already knew about the situation, and he suspects. So Tim goes, "Well, I would, but I don't even know who you are. Who are you talking about?" And he said, "Anna. That's my woman." And then, of course, we knew who it was. Well, I decided to take all this information, and, obviously Tim offered to come down and stand in court with me. But I just didn't want anybody else involved because this man is volatile. He's dangerous. I didn't know if he was going to be carrying a weapon and kill us in the parking lot, whatever. So I went on my own, and I sat there in the court, and he never showed up. And they wanted me to do it again. And I was just like, I called the local Hartley House, which is an abuse place, and they've got a lawyer. And I spoke to the lawyer, and I said, "Why do I have to continue? Like, when if he doesn't show up, they're not able to deliver it to him for some reason. What are my protections? And why do I have to keep going through this? I don't want to keep going through this over and over again. I want to try to move on from it." She said, "I could get an order that they would spend 6 months trying to give it to him, and you don't have to continue to reappear in court. She said, but take the weekend to think about it. And I said, I worry because, the judge, he hears these cases, and I don't want to not show up at court, you know, because I don't want to be disrespectful of his time. And she said, the judge completely understands. Okay. You're not going to be in trouble. The judge is not going to think any less of you. As a matter of fact, there's quite a few women who are scared like you. And that's what happens. They give up trying. So on the Monday, um, I called her back and I said, I just can't. I just can't do it. I'm to the point. I was laying in my bed and I was crying. I was crying all the time. I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't leave the house. And I was frozen. I was just frozen and I felt trapped. I felt like I am never going to have anything again because this man is going to destroy it. And also, like, he would tell me that he threw my stuff away. He would do that. Like, when I was there, my stuff that I purchased for myself before I ever met him, he would throw it away. And he told me, if I ever left him, and was successful, I wasn't getting my stuff back. So I was stupid, and I found out that he still had some of my stuff, and I said, "Look, I spent my life restarting over. I spent all this money and all this stuff, and I want it." So, very dangerous, and I got yelled at for this. I decided I'm gonna go up there, and I'm gonna trick him, and I'm gonna get my shit. So, I went up there. I said, I just really I need my dresser because I don't have any place to put my clothes. And I had told him before I went up there, I was like, really, I don't know if I wasn't intending on going back to him. Um, but I told everybody else that me and a friend went up there. No, I went by myself because I'm the girl that protects everybody else. And but it all got so bad that I was telling people if I show up dead, he's the one who did it. So I did get some of my stuff back, but he had already thrown away my outdoor cameras because I was not going to let him use them and have them. So I took them off my account, changed the passcode, and so they wouldn't work for him. So he threw them in the trash. Um, so I got some more clothes, and I got my dresser, and I got my jewelry box with my um, I don't know if you guys remember me telling you, but the love of my life at that time, before this kidnapping, had passed away. Um, he's been gone April 26th for 4 years. And I had a necklace memorabilia for that. And I also had one for my cat that passed away. So, well, when you're escaping something, you just take what you can. So I just took my cats and most of my clothes. And, I'm a minimalist. Luckily, I don't have much. So he wanted to, and I knew this was going to happen. He said he was on that, I can't remember what it's called, that makes you stop drinking. And he wanted to talk more and be friends and try to work things out. And then, so I just went along with that so I could get out of there. I got out of there and he found, like, I moved from my dad's to a new place. He found where I was living. He showed up there. He demanded names again. One time he said he was looking for something and his phone wasn't working. Could I hand him my phone? I was standing right there, and somehow he got the information from a friend in my contact list. And he said, "Who is this?" In the next, like, he would just keep showing up. And the next time he was like, "Who is this?" And I sort of got trapped back in, but this time I said, "I'm not giving up my apartment, whatever." Uh, I don't know. You guys might think that some people think that you just walk out and leave. With people like him, you don't. And he he would say stuff like, "Now, if you want me to never come back, I will." He didn't mean that. He'd said that over and over again. He was just looking for a response from me so that he could ramp up. So I would say, "Well, listen, I don't want to go through what we went through before. I don't know what I want. Right now, I'm going to just stay here." And but he would call me up with his friend on the phone and he would say stuff like on the speakerphone, "Yeah, I paid all your rent for you." And I said, "Bull fucking shit. You never paid anything for me. I pay for my own self." And it got to the point where I knew I had to move again. I went over to the T-Mobile store. We figured out how he was getting my phone number. Guys, there's a from line. There's a basic from line that what you see in the caller ID. And he was running my name. And then within 3 weeks, it was popping up on Truth Finder. My name, my phone number, my address. So the lady at T-Mobile, we made up name. We made up a name. And he hadn't been able to get it. Because, it's real easy to get a text now number and contact somebody. He also had 3 or 4 phones, you know. Anyway, so June 14th of 2023 was the last time that I physically saw him, the last time he physically showed up, because I told him when he left, yeah, he'll fucking kick down your door. And I didn't feel protected by the police. At that point, they because we had tried 2 restraining orders, they couldn't get them to him because they would knock on his door. He knew what it was, he wouldn't answer his door. Therefore, the restraining order is ineffective. And nobody looked at his prior history, or I feel like if they'd known what I learned later, they would have backed me up better. But the truth is, the place where he lives, they gave him a phone call and said, "You have a restraining order here." Turns out the other girl that he was, I think, cheating with, um, she got a restraining order on him too. Almost a year later, it was driving me crazy, and I said, well, it's gonna be a year that that I haven't heard from him. He does frequent my old profile, which I don't use anymore, and under assumed names, I can tell when it's him. And I've moved far, far away. We did have a scare here because there was a guy from West Virginia drunk driving with his friend in the car and ended up in the river. Literally, probably 2,000 feet from where I'm at. But when I called the police, when I found out about that and I called the police, they said that's not the description of him, that's not his name, and that's not the car. So a video came out on the news and he would never own a car like that. So that wasn't his car. But talk about scary. And because that night when they asked him what he was doing over here, he said he was looking for someone. Ooh. West Virginia, looking for someone, drunk, male. Anyway, and he didn't care if anybody was around, and he would. There was this site that he would put us on, and he was offering me to other people, and he had this guy driving over. Um, I freaked the fuck out, and I made sure that guy knew that I was not okay with that, and that guy never showed up, but he tried this multiple times. Um, so I don't know where he is. He disappeared off of my block list. His name, his assumed names, except for one, are all gone, which he hasn't been on that name. Facebook, he's also on Facebook dating, but they don't, it's just a robot. I can't get a hold of anybody there to show them the proof and tell them my story to block him from there too. But like I said, about a year after I left, I guess it was around November, December, because I left December 26th. I Something kept telling me to find his ex-wife. So I did. All I said to her was who I was, and I wanted to ask her some questions. And she just told me her horrific entire story. It matched mine. But before, because he said she was such a negative person, before I contacted her, I looked at her profile. This woman she has uplifting posts. She's remarried. She has grandkids. She's a very happy person. When I contacted her, she was worried over me, and she did tell me, she said, he has 3 restraining orders, and I can't think it's North Carolina. It was in the Carolinas, and he was kicked out of Germany, and I can't believe that he did something. I mean, he was married to who's like very young, and he was married to a woman twice his age. So those kids were grown up, but apparently he slept with the daughter, and he ended up, because he got in so much trouble over there, he was kicked out of Germany. So the only records that he has here are drunk driving records, which he told me he never drove without a license. He did tell me about the drunk driving. He had to because he had a puff thing in his car, but he said that was all over with. Well, it wasn't all over with because he's still doing it. He doesn't, they took the puff thing out of his car. But I found out, I just ran a search on his name on Google, and his name popped up, and he was caught driving without a driver's license because it was suspended. Um, not recently, but he had told me the story that, they kept me on the puff thing for 3 months longer because they said I failed the puff test so many times. Turns out it wasn't just because he failed the puff test so many times, it was because he was caught driving without a license, drunk. So, I I just I haven't heard from him. I haven't seen him since then. I've met someone new, who has had my back, and uh, I gotta say, I haven't been the easiest person to live with for the past year. And my man now, he promised me from the beginning that, like, I told him, because when we first met, I was just like, we were first talking on the dating site. I blocked I blocked him because I sent him a message. I said, I can't bring you into my hell, basically. And then he saw me on Facebook, and we started talking, and he's a really good guy. And I need to let this go. And there's no counseling available for me, so I have to do it on my own. I don't know how. And basically, I started talking to this group, and the one girl, she was really helpful, and she said, "Look, you've been through so much just with this past abusive relationship. She said all this stuff is packed down in you, and she said it's going to take a while, but she says as you feel it, let it out and just self-talk, you know. And she said if you need me, I'm here. I know Belinda said if I needed her, she was there, but I can't reopen that wound for her. I feel like if I was to talk to his ex-wife, I would I would reopen pain in her, and I can't do that to anyone else. So, um, guys, girls, I don't care who you are, never go, even if the date is going great. First of all, never give him your address, never let him pick you up or drop you off, even if your car's not running. Like, say your car breaks down during the date, don't do it. Say you're having the most wonderful time and they invite you back to watch a movie at their house. Don't do it. Don't do it. Really shouldn't be doing that anyway with someone you don't know, but you don't know what is going to go on. And I just I just wanted to get my story out there. I know there's more people out there like him. I know that he's still out there. They hit you. They seem so wonderful and like such a wonderful gentleman, and then it's like on a dime they turn, and then they're on you so much and so long, keeping you awake all night, yelling at you, abusing you physically, mentally, sexually, and you just think, oh my lord. You can't think. Okay, I was exhausted all the time, and I tried everything to keep him off of me and be very unattractive. During that relationship, well, it wasn't a relationship for me, it was for him. During that ordeal, he was I it, the stress, um, I got very, very sick, and he didn't care. Okay, after that, I started, um after I escaped him, I just kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Um, there's still a problem with me that the doctors have not figured out. I had an emergency appendix surgery last October. That, that's another thing, guys. If your stomach is hurting or you're not feeling well, like I was feeling the pain up in the top of my stomach. So I thought it was up around, I guess, my pancreatitis. I thought I had pancreas issues. I thought I had pancreatitis because the week before I'd been really sick and coughing. So the only pain I felt was like the pain from coughing. My body was being filled with poison because basically the way that they configure it is your appendix was meant for when you were cavemen and women to help you digest that roughage. So anytime food gets stuck in there, it anything, um, pretty much it was leaking, but it hadn't burst yet. I went to the doctors, the ER. I'm bad at going to the doctors. But I went to the ER and they're like, yeah, we can't let you leave because your appendix is about ready to burst and you are it was giving me blood poisoning. It can kill you. So, but by the grace of God that I was saved from that. I asked them how it happens and they said they don't know. Just some people's go bad. But I had been having those problems all the way back, you know. And if you could see the pictures of me. So right now I'm getting back to a normal health and but I'm still having problems. That's why I look a little different. So I just wanted to let you guys know and I wanted to bring it out there. And if you are in a relationship where you're being abused, be very careful. Um, if you get time to yourself, say you're at work, and make sure you erase all your history, and including your call history. Go to the hospital, get yourself out of there, and don't expect too much from the police unless they walk up on it. And I appreciate you listening to my story. Again, hopefully YouTube will not take this down and they'll understand that this was very devastating, and I have no one to talk to, but I don't want this happening to other women. Bye.